Hi everyone! We all love traveling. Visiting other countries brings us positive emotions, new knowledge, and experience. Everyone likes to do this in their own way. Some want to spend days lying on a chaise lounge by the sea, sipping a favorite drink, and some visit museums and highlights. But some people specifically choose the most extreme routes for traveling to get as much thrill as possible. Today, we will tell you about the 9 most dangerous places on the planet where you can go right now, but we advise you to think twice about it and make a decision only after watching the video. Road to Mount Hua. People who are afraid of heights might feel dizzy just by looking at this path. It is considered the most dangerous route in the world and is rightfully called the Path of Death. An unusual attraction for the most daring tourist is located on the Huashan Mountain in the Chinese province of Shaanxi. This mountain looks somewhat like a weird plant because of its 5 peaks. This is precisely where its name came from. In Chinese, Hua means a flower. To get to one of the peaks of the mountain, visitors need to follow the path made from narrow planks right above the deadly gorge. Despite the incredible risk, tourists flock here every year. By the way, Mount Hua also has great religious significance for Taoists. They regularly make pilgrimages there, and a few decades ago, this place was a popular retreat for hermits. But given the number of tourists, this place is no longer a peaceful retreat. There are a number of different routes on the mountain, from easy to the most challenging. The transition from the north to the south peak is considered the most dangerous route. When you look at the video shot there, it's hard to believe that fragile wooden planks can hold the weight of this many tourists. Rumor has it that about 100 people fall into the abyss every year. By the way, massive chains and safeties appeared on the Path of Death quite recently due to the influx of tourists from the west. Previously, people had to climb the mountain without them. Fish Hook Beach. In some parts of the world, beach vacations are not quite as safe as they might seem. In some countries, you can encounter the bloodthirsty creatures of the oceans. For example, Fish Hook Beach in South African Cape Town has long been considered one of the world leaders in the number of shark attacks, but for some reason, adventure-seeking tourists still go there. The scariest thing is that here, you can encounter the most dangerous white sharks right off the coast, in the shallow waters. Even special protective nets do not stop the predators, and even if people spot a shark and turn on a siren, it does not always save tourists from death. By the way, the invasion of sharks has not always been an issue for the residents of Cape Town. In the past, they rarely came close to the coast, and there were just a few cases of attacks on people. However, over the past decade, such accidents have become more common around the world. Scientists believe this is due to global climate change. They say the inhabitants of the ocean are becoming more aggressive and exhibit behavior that was not typical for them in the past. Who knows, maybe in the future, Fish Hook Beach will have to be closed altogether, given the number of victims. Joffrey Burger Cave. The next location is a nightmare for any claustrophobic person. It's also a favorite spot for fans of extreme places in France. The depth of this cave is 1,200 meters. For a long time, it was considered the deepest cave in the world, but over time, geologists found other places that are even deeper. The passages of the Joffrey Burger Cave stretch for more than 30 kilometers. This cave has one of the most dangerous internal structures in the world. The thing is that the walls are made of limestone, which tends to collapse during periods of heavy rain or river floods. It can take dozens of hours to climb out from the deepest spots of the cave. That is why some people call this place a killer cave. It really deserved this name. Over 60 years, several researchers have died here. Another interesting feature of Joffrey Burger Cave is the tunnels flooded with water. Not all of them can be walked across, so tourists are usually advised to take small inflatable boats with them. Some sections of the cave are completely flooded, which makes them an attractive place for divers. Uyuni Salt Flat. Have you ever actually seen a salt flat? Usually, these incredible dried-up lakes are confused with some Arctic landscapes of snow-covered plains. But in fact, this is ordinary salt, which is deposited in the upper layers of the soil in such quantities that plants simply cannot grow here. This incredible lake is considered the largest salt flat in the world. Its area is more than 10,000 square kilometers. It is located in the southwest of the Latin American country of Bolivia, not far from Uyuni City. Just imagine, in some places, the thickness of the salt layer reaches almost 10 meters. The most interesting thing about it is that during the year, this amazing place changes the way it looks. For example, during the rainy season, the full-flowing lakes flood the region, which is why the salt flat ends up under a thin layer of water. As a result, the salty desert turns into a natural mirror, where the blue sky can be seen both above your head and below your feet. Already considering Bolivia as your next destination? You might want to think twice. Before traveling, you might take into account several factors. First, do not forget that the Uyuni Salt Flat lies at an inconceivable height, 4,000 meters above sea level. Such a sharp pressure drop can cause dizziness, nausea, and even vomiting if you haven't trained for this. In addition, fatal car accidents regularly happen at the Bolivian Salt Flat, as local drivers often neglect safety rules.
Oh my God, well, it's incredible.
Often they exceed the speed limit or do not fasten their seatbelts. So over the last few years, more than a dozen foreign tourists have tragically died here. Villarrica Volcano. The Chilean volcano of Villarrica, aka the House of the Demon, is one of the most active volcanoes not only in South America, but also in the so-called Ring of Fire that encircles the Pacific Ocean. Its last eruption happened in March 2015. It spewed lava and ash up to 1 kilometer into the sky. Of course, Villarrica, as well as other active volcanoes in the world, is under constant observation. To predict the eruptions, scientists monitor different signs, such as an increase in temperature in the surrounding soil or sudden melting of the snow cover. However, researchers from all over the world concur that it is almost impossible to give an accurate forecast of the next eruption. Sounds scary, right? You won't believe it, but all this does not bother hundreds of tourists who come here every year to enjoy the picturesque lake of lava in the crater of Villarrica. For some daring people, simple sightseeing tours are not enough. For especially reckless tourists, there are special tours like flying over the crater on a helicopter, or even bungee jumping directly over the vent of the volcano. As they say, any whim for your money. Fisher Towers. You don't have to be an expert to understand how unstable and dangerous these sandstone pillar mountains in Utah are. Due to their unusual appearance, they are featured in many commercials and movies. For example, you can see the Fisher Towers in the opening scene of Austin Powers in the Goldmember movie.
Yeah, baby.
In addition, over the past couple of decades, these unusual peaks have become a favorite destination for climbers and base jumpers. Sometimes they get particularly creative. For example, 3 years ago, a group of adrenaline seekers decided to decorate one of the peaks with New Year's garlands.
It's pretty awesome.
And turned the mountain into a very unusual Christmas tree. Lake Nyos. This is one of the most dangerous lakes in the world. It causes no floods, terrible aquatic creatures do not live in it, and it does not create powerful whirlpools. So what did it do to deserve such a title? It's all about one unusual natural phenomenon. This lake is located right on the mountain formation, which still shows some volcanic activity. As a result, carbon dioxide is constantly being released into the cracks and gets right to the bottom of the lake, and then into its water. Until the 80s of the last century, it didn't cause any trouble. Gas was released in small quantities into the atmosphere and did not cause any harm to the locals. But in 1986, the situation changed dramatically. And for reasons that have not yet been fully understood, a huge cloud of gas was released into the atmosphere. After a short period of time, toxic substances from the air began to settle onto the ground, killing hundreds of people and animals. Since then, Lake Nyos has been under constant monitoring by local experts, and tourists are advised to avoid going there. Death Valley. This part of the world, which looks like a Martian landscape, was labeled by the World Meteorological Organization as the hottest place on Earth. But this is not all it's known for. This place with the name Death Valley is a desert valley trench located in the US state of California, southeast of the Sierra Nevada mountain range, and it got its name for a good reason. For example, one of the greatest mysteries of the valley is the strange moving stones. Many believe this phenomenon has a mystical explanation, saying, for example, that the stones are moved from place to place by the spirits of gold miners who died here in 1849. However, according to scientists, the movement is caused by a thin ice crust, which sometimes appears in the valley after frosty nights. South Luangwa National Park. Our last place for today is one of the largest and most dangerous national parks on the African continent. It is located 250 kilometers from Lusaka, the capital of Zambia. However, this place is not inhabited by tame monkeys. Only wild animals roam here, so walking around the park on foot is ill-advised, not only because of its vast territory, but also because there's a risk of encountering a dangerous beast. It's better to drive around the park in a safari jeep, though even this does not guarantee your safety. That's it for today. See you soon!